All right. Thank you for joining us again. Welcome back. At this time, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming Blake Fleischacker, who is going to be your guest speaker for the remainder of this morning. Blake is a proud Western alumnus. He has been a staff member at Western for many years, and he's recently just embarked on a career of public speaking, writer extraordinaire, and I think you're going to find him particularly engaging. He has a lot of experience in dealing with parents. He was a past residence manager and very much involved in the residence process. And so you'll, I think, be really delighted to hear from Blake as part of the transition talk this morning. Please help me welcome Blake Fleischacker.
To begin this, I just have a quick question for folks. And this will be a public survey, just by raising your hand. So let's take move-in day, for example. Come on in, take a seat. Sorry. It's okay, no problem. It's move-in day at this university, and you're coming to the campus. Whether your student is off campus or living in res, you have three options. Hands up if this is your situation. You pull up at the front of the residence, you park the car, you go into the residence, spend about an hour, 2 hours, helping them get settled, restful, and decorate some items. Load the fridge with some veggies, maybe some Nutri-Grain bars. And then after about 2 hours, your child says, "Please leave. I'm now settled. Have a good day." You get back in the car, you drive out of London, head back home. Hands up if you think that pretty much describes day one for you. Now, can you hear me without the microphone, just like this? No? Okay. It might be feedbacky, but we'll be good. Check, check. Option number two. You drive up to the front of the residence. You pull over, park the car. Your student gets out of the car, goes into the residence. You pull a U-turn, drive away, get home as fast as you can, because you have things to do. There's 2 people, 3 people, honest people. Option C, you get to this university, you pull up in front of the residence, and then you park the car, the student gets out of the car, you go into the residence with them, help them get settled in. Maybe you put up some posters, load the fridge with some veggies, maybe some Nutri-Grain bars. And then about 2 hours go by, hug, kiss, maybe try to kiss, but okay, never mind, see you at Thanksgiving. Then you get back in the car, and you leave campus. You drive out of London, but stop inside London to unpack at the nearest hotel, which you have booked for the first week of your child's life at university, and then you participate in orientation week alongside your child. Okay. There are 2 honest people in the room to that one. Some of you are laughing because you think, that's ridiculous. Who does that? Some of you are laughing because you think, oh my gosh, they know I booked a hotel. So before we get into the slides, a quick little background, starting in Richmond Hill, Ontario, because that's where I was loading my SUV with items that were a little bit more than a 2-decker shopping cart. And Mom and Dad drove me to this university, and I unpacked all my important belongings, but one thing rose to the top of my list of importance. One thing that I needed to succeed academically, succeed socially, succeed overall as a new undergrad student. I brought that item with me today for a visual. Now, I don't show you Teddy to act tough. I don't show you Teddy to get points with the dads in the audience. I show you this guy because at the end of the day, there are a lot of details, there are a lot of questions that you want answers to, and there are a lot of bits and pieces necessary to know to make a successful transition into this university. But overall, you're dealing with your child, the person you love, the student who is now coming to this university, and you are so proud that they are entering this place. So this is just a symbol to remind us that yes, there are many important details, and we're dealing with someone who is going to succeed, be happy, and find this place to be just as amazing as the brochure says, because we are here to help both this university, Western, the staff members, and you, the important people behind the scenes, on the sidelines, who got them here. So let's get going here. A few pointers. We want them to be successful at this school. And we also do not want to discount the importance that each of you have in this process. Because yes, you might not be going to the classes, you might not be getting the t-shirts in the first week of orientation, but you are an integral piece of this entire puzzle. Now, decision-making skills, some of you realize that your student already has those skills. They're good at making their own decisions. Some of you in this audience are thinking, how does my kid get those skills? Oh, I know. Western's going to help out. Because yes, they are smart, they are brilliant, they are bright, and after a few years at this place, even smarter, more brilliant, and brighter. Now, it's the best time, but maybe the trickiest time to communicate with your student because there are a lot of big things on the horizon. Now, I'm not suggesting that you get in the car on the way home from SAO today. You drive along and you go through all of life's biggest questions. Maybe it's not the time, but before orientation week arrives, get some of those conversations out on the table because it might not be the easiest, but it's easier now than in a year, or now than in 4 years. And I've worked with many students who say that their parents didn't talk to them much before university, and had they done that, it would have gone a lot better. So when you're driving home, just consider it. 401, might be a little boring. Great time to talk about philosophy and the meaning of life. Their role is changing as a student. It's not high school anymore. Your role is changing as a parent. It's not high school anymore. Another quick question. By a show of hands, who is sending their first child, the first student to go to university? Well, look around. You're among friends. You can have barbecues together this summer and talk about how this transition is going. Okay, who's sending their second, third, fourth, seventh child along? Okay, somewhere in the middle. Great. Now, hands up if this is the final, your finale. You're like, oh, we're done. Look at that. Okay, keep your hands in the air. Please keep your hands in the air, those people. Look around, everyone else. These people are renovating this summer. Home office, home gym, who knows? They're renovating. Once upon a time, there was a man whose name was Maslow, and he drew a triangle. He called that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And let's go through this triangle piece by piece. Physiological needs, safety needs, belongingness, and love needs. Now, those top two, esteem needs and self-actualization, those will get taken care of after their time here at this university. Though it's those first three that we want to ensure we take care of and that we are intentional about right out of the gates. Because this triangle is basically saying everything has to be dealt with at the bottom to then move to the next level. And then everything has to be dealt with at the second level to move to the third level. And so let's take them and break them down because the physiological needs, you have beautiful homes, we have beautiful residences, we put a roof over the heads of the students at this university. They're safe, they're taken care of, and safety is very important to us. That second level where it says safety needs, speaking from experience, we have so many meetings at this university devoted solely to safety. And as a staff member, sometimes you might think, really? Another safety meeting? And then you think, absolutely, another safety meeting. Because this is paramount. It is the most important thing. Yes, academics are great and all, but if the students are not safe, grades don't even matter. Belongingness, that is our goal. Because we don't want students to show up here and say, yep, I found my course, yep, I found my residence, yep, I know my way around, but I don't belong here, or I don't feel like I belong here. That is heartbreaking to this university because we want this place to feel like home. We don't want to think that it's home now and yours isn't home. No, no, no. No offense. But we hope that they can identify with this university and go home at Thanksgiving and say, I love that place. Not more than this place. I love that place. Okay, a little bit of a graph. It's a magical graph. These things will be changing, so pay close attention. Wherever you go, maybe it's a trip, maybe it's camp, who knows? This is basically a breakdown of the transition, how it is when you first arrive, and then over time, what you might be experiencing. So let's take university, for example. At the start, the honeymoon phase. Let's call that move-in day, orientation week. Students arrive, they say, wow, a lot is happening. Oh my gosh, I've been given a t-shirt. I match like hundreds of other people wearing the same t-shirt. This is great. I feel like I'm in the honeymoon phase. And because of that, we see all these excited students because they're all going the same place. They all have questions. Well, they'll all get answers. The resources are just encircling them because we want to make sure they know they are taken care of right away. Cultural shock sets in around end of September. They've changed their t-shirt, we hope. They look at the calendar and think, wow, I've been standing outside of my residence for 24 days now and Mom still hasn't picked me up. And that's not a problem, just a reality. Because time is a bit funny out here for a first-year student. You might be at home thinking, they haven't called, it's been an hour. And for them, it might have felt like a minute because everything is new. Sometimes a student might just genuinely forget to call home for a week. Some of you might be thinking, pardon? A week? And it's because it's new. And we're not saying, deal with it. They're not going to call. We're just saying that time is different out here. And by the end of September, it's a little bit of shock because they realize, okay, this is serious. I'm not at summer camp. I have things to do here. Let's get going. So, initial adjustment, well, that's the turkey landmark, the reference point. Now, Thanksgiving is important for a few reasons. One, it's typically the first main break. They might have come home and visited already because they realized that their laundry needed to get done and they had no idea how to do it, which does happen. Second week of September, laundry bags everywhere. They go into the cars, they go back to Toronto. But at Thanksgiving, they also come home and they return to their previous social life. I remember I went home at Thanksgiving and I donned my purple hoodie like it was the only thing I needed to wear. It's like, what's up, high school friends? Check out my hoodie. But then there's this thing called the turkey dump. I don't want to gross anyone out. It's a term for relationships and changes that they might face around this time. So if you've experienced this, I'm sorry, I feel for you. If you haven't, what the turkey dump is basically some term given to high school sweethearts who, when they go away to school, the fire's burning. They're in love. Like, baby, nothing's going to change, ever. Forever, you and me. And then at Thanksgiving, one of their hoodies is purple. The other hoodie is gold. They're using different language. They know different people. The chemistry isn't there. And then they might break up. It's heartbreaking. But the turkey dump is basically that time when they say, stuff's changed, baby. But we'll be okay. And then they come back to school, and instead of looking at their cell phone at their background picture of their high school sweetheart, they're texting their new sweetheart. Because their high school relationship has run its course. Some of them, they work out, I swear, some of them. I know people. Happily married, they met in grade 6, now they've got 4 kids. It happens, but Thanksgiving, a definite turning point. Mental isolation kicks in around October, November. We're not saying it gets bad, it gets dark, it gets scary. We're just saying that mental isolation kind of sets in because midterms arrive. And if the students haven't tried the school thing out yet, midterms are a good way to identify who's been trying and who's been in summer camp mode. Now, you've probably heard it. Students, their average typically drops in first university. Now, some of them, their average doesn't drop. It stays the same. Some even see an increase in their average. But midterms are basically that time where they say, wow, it's not high school anymore. Wow, I have a lot of work to do. Wow, my grades are now getting printed out under the Western title. This isn't high school anymore. Oh my gosh. Now, a little bit of a number scramble for you all. 85, so 8-5. That was my high school grade 12 final average. It wasn't the highest, but it was good. So after my first year at Western, Number scramble. 58. I'm not trying to brag. But after my first midterm, I realized that the final grade I received on that psych exam was a 25%. And I finished the exam. But that's just how it goes. I went to class, I studied, I mean it, I didn't just slack off. But I approached university the same way I approached high school. And that did not serve me well. Fortunately, the resources on this campus are infinite. And those who ask for help and utilize the resources are okay. Because there's this fear of, will my child slip through the cracks? Is my student even going to get found out if they're struggling? Yes and no. No, if they don't signal to someone that they'd like a little bit of support. Yes, if they just say, hey, kind of looking for some support. All it takes is like, help me, and we take care of it. We don't solve all the problems, but we put them in all the supports and all the services necessary for success. Because I'd still be sitting in one of these seats with my mom if I didn't go to the Student Development Center after I got that big 25 on the first exam. So, acceptance and integration, super important. After the first semester, our students can regroup, look back and say, okay, what just happened? I've been standing on the front steps for 4 months now, and Mom still hasn't picked me up. What's going on? And that's when they can look at some grades, look at some relationships, and just review, how has my life been here at this university so far? That's the transition. Some, it's identical to that. Others, it's very different. But overall, this is what we can expect to see in our students in their first year, and what you can expect to hear over the phone, in the emails, during the visits, when they need their laundry done. So this is a beautiful place. That's actually a picture of Western right there. Different colors. But what some people are surprised about is just how many people are here. Some people are from small towns, and then they show up at campus and they think, wow, my residence has more people in it than my hometown. Which to some is like, what, seriously? Others are thinking, I'm terrified of this. Like, I'm not used to this many people in one place. But the people is what makes this place tick. Toronto, for example, it's one of the most diverse cities on the planet. And a lot of people from Toronto come to London to go to Western. And a lot of people from the rest of the planet come to Western. Some people are overseas somewhere right now. They're like, ooh, this looks like a neat website. Those have pretty pictures with nice looking people. Western, what's that? Let's go. Then they show up on day one. It's go time. I'm not from here, but let's make this happen. Let's make this work. I knew 2 girls, one Oakville, Ontario, the other Dubai. Oakville girl named M. M brought a requested roommate with her from Oakville. That lasted about a week. Donna was from Dubai and was M's next door neighbor. M and Donna became best friends. BFFs. Just total kindred spirits. And I was there at graduation to see M and Donna. And when they had to part ways, not just for the summer, but for possibly decades, that was a heartbreaker. Because these were girls that became sisters in 4 years at this university, because that's the power of the entire planet coming together on this campus. And then when they left and separated, ouch, because they were going back across the world from one another. And if students come to this campus and they say, whoa, everyone here looks different from the people I'm used to, I'm just going to hang out with the people that I'm used to, the people that I recognize, the people that are similar to those from my hometown. That's great and all. Though it's the students that step into the unknown, step into the relationships with people that they have never met before, never even knew would be coming to Western, those are the students who succeed so much more because they complement their academics. They complement their inside the classroom learning with the outside the classroom learning that comes from conversations with someone from Dubai, conversations with a professor after the class, conversations with a roommate at 5 in the morning when they're cramming for exams, and although they don't know each other's name, they know that they both are studying for the exact same exams and are going through the exact same mental game to succeed in university. So both as family members and as you're nudging your student in the direction of success, let them know that the diversity on this campus is what boosts people's grades. Smells like teen spirits. Now, we're not going to try and pretend that people don't drink at this university, because we're dealing with human beings, and this is a problem everywhere. There's actually a school in Utah. It's a school in a completely dry county, and that school has some serious underage drinking problems, which just goes to show that we're always on every campus, everywhere, trying to manage this, because we're dealing with 17, 18, 19-year-olds who are facing this for, most of the time, the first time. In Utah, one of their biggest problems that they're facing is that these students are making their own moonshine. I don't know how to make moonshine, but that would be a problem that we would want to deal with on that campus. Now at Western, we are so proud of this campus because we were first to move into what we refer to as the dry orientation week. Years ago, when Western said, we're not having any booze be a part of our programming in orientation, the country just chuckled. They're like, yeah, have fun with that, Western. See how that goes. And we're proud of it because we know that, yes, students drink, but not all of them. Yes, students party, but not all of them. And the sooner we can message to students, hey, if you don't drink, great, not everyone does, the better. So that's why we want this messaging to come through now and all the way through orientation week and beyond, because we're dealing with underagers here now. People don't come here at the age of 19 and 20 anymore. People come here at the age of 17, 18, 16, 15 even. In one of my residences, there was a 15-year-old because he was brilliant. He had a great first year because he knew he didn't have to pretend he was 19 to be successful. This website, you might have seen it. On the bottom right, there's this tool called Check Your Drinking. What that is a nifty little tool to show students where they match up to other people in their demographic. Now, this isn't some drinking contest, like, oh yeah, I'm getting on there. I could totally outdrink everyone on that tool. No. What it is just a way to get a sense of where do I fit in this spectrum of I don't ever have alcohol, or, yep, I've partied through high school. So let's look closely. This is what they get at the end. Basically just some reference points. Okay, how much money am I putting into this hobby, maybe habit? And what could that money have been used for instead, socially? Also, how much did that affect my body? Maybe when people are drinking things, they don't get a sense of, is this making me look fat? But if you talk to them in terms like pizzas and burgers, like this website, they get heightened realization of, whoa, this is impacting my body. And we know that a lot of students struggle with weight, especially in this year, because they're trying to meet new people, impress people. And this is important to them and to us, because without their health, they don't get their academics. Some schools make this mandatory to do in order to register to be a student. Western doesn't make it mandatory, but Western highly recommends that a student checks this out because in the comfort of their own home, they can just get a sense of where they fit in and quickly realize, oh, not everybody drinks. We hope that as students enter this campus, they have the opportunity to start fresh if they want to, maybe socially or academically. But we don't want students to wipe the slate clean in the sense that they hide things from us that we could help them with if we knew about. For example, I'm one of those guys who has those like tummy issues, as Mom used to say. So we told Western, hey, I kind of have dietary needs. And in doing so, the dining hall could then serve me. The dining hall could then help me. The dining hall could then support me because I couldn't eat all the meals. And not everyone gets to live with a kitchen. I was in traditional style residence, and thankfully the dining hall was so supportive. But had I not acknowledged, hey, tummy issues, they would have had no idea how to help. So let us know how we can serve your student. Otherwise, we might miss something, and then they won't get what we call the best student experience. There's a lot of help available. I'm not even going to get into these because you've seen the brochures, you've seen the websites. If I were to list all of the services available on this campus, we'd be here till tomorrow. And if I were to then list all of the services available on this campus that the students don't take full advantage of, we would be here until tomorrow. We have everything that we need for your student to succeed. That rhymed. Write that down. That rhymed. I just realized that. But not every student utilizes these services, which is why a professor can go into a new class and say, hey, all of you 1,200 new students, I will have 2 hours this week to answer your questions in my office. And the students look around and say, 1,200 people, 2 hours. Yeah, I'm not going. But professors do that because they know not everyone goes. Asking for help is the easiest thing to do and the most difficult thing to do. What's funny is that there's a lot of students that get far more from this experience than others because those are the students that say, I need a hand, who has any tips? And here's a tip for your students, or even you if you come visit campus. Where there's free food, there's help. I was so well fed at this university because I went to all the free programs. So it's like pizza, multiple choice study tips. Pizza, essay writing skills. Pizza, oh, that was just like a pizza party, but I went anyway. We have a residence counselor in the residences. We are proud of this service because years ago, we knew that this was important because of the students that were coming to residence advisors, residence staff members saying, I just want to talk to somebody. For some, they were in a deep, dark place. Talking was what they needed. For others, they were just kind of confused. Talking is what they needed. And the residence counselor is important to us because we want to message to students that there is always someone to talk to. A professional, if it's more than just a conversation you'd like to have on your floor or with the off-campus services. And we give a magnet to every single first-year student with that information on it, not to say, you're all going to need a counselor, but to say, here is the service, so if you see anyone that might benefit from it, we hope that you are aware of this service so you can nudge your peer group in the direction of this service. All right, quick little game. Hands up if you do not have one of those SAO handbooks. If you don't, just share with a buddy. But please turn to page 39 of the handbook. So we're just going to go through this quickly. Now, I have a story to introduce this. And the story is about a mom who kept calling me because I was the residence manager and she had a problem. I loved when parents called me with problems because although it made me sweat on the other end of the telephone, it shows that the parent cared. So you will all be making phone calls at some point, maybe with questions or maybe with concerns because you care about the success of your student. This parent called me because her son, let's call him Johnny, had a roommate, let's call him Frankie, and she said, my Johnny is an angel. Oh, you know Johnny. You know my Johnny is there to study, work hard, and succeed in school. Frankie is causing a problem. Frankie is making sure that Johnny can't study. Frankie's up late. Frankie's making noise. Frankie is getting in the way of my student's success. So I'm calling because I want Frankie's room phone number, because they're a little different from Johnny's. I want Frankie's class schedule. I want Frankie's parents' phone number. I want every piece of information I can get on Frankie so I can take this situation into my own hands. Blake is on the phone at this point, letting mom know that as angelic as Johnny sounds, she cannot have that information because of a little something called privacy. I don't like the privacy laws because I've seen some parents struggle with it in the sense that they just want some basic information about their little Frankie. But because Frankie's 19, we have to say, we are not able to give out that information, so please just call him directly. And that can be frustrating for a parent just like you. But why privacy is in place is so that moms of Johnny don't have as much access as they want to your Frankie. Because that is the last thing we need. Your child to be unsafe and at risk of other people taking matters into their own hands, which we will take care of with your support. So now going through this, quick survey. Feel free to just be honest and put out what you think by raising your hand. If your son or daughter changed their major or degree program, hands up if you don't expect to be informed by the university. Hands up if you'd like to be informed but don't expect to be informed by the university. And hands up if you expect to be informed by this university. Okay, so you will not be informed by the university. If they failed a course, hands up if you don't expect to be informed by the university. Hands up if you'd like to know but don't expect to be informed. And hands up if you expect Western to say your student has failed a course. Okay, Western will not tell you. If they take on a part-time job, hands up if you don't expect to know this from the university. Hands up if you'd like to know but don't expect to know. And hands up if you expect to know this from the university. Western will not tell you. Now, if they violate a university policy, such as alcohol, cheating, vandalism, hands up if you don't expect to be informed by the university. Hands up if you'd like to know but don't expect to be informed. And hands up if you expect Western to let you know about this information. Okay. Western will not let you know. Some of you are now like, let's fight this guy in the parking lot. We'll get to this at the end. We'll debrief. If they withdrew from the university or was required to withdraw, hands up if you don't expect to be informed. Hands up if you'd like to know but don't expect to be informed. Or hands up if you expect to be informed about this information. Okay? We will not tell you. Now, if they take on a student leader or volunteer position, hands up if you don't expect to be informed. Hands up if you'd like to know but don't expect to be informed. Hands up if you expect to know. This from the university. Okay? We will not tell you. Now let's put these two together. If they have a medical or a psychological emergency, hands up if you don't expect to be informed by the university. Hands up if you'd like to know but don't expect to be informed. Hands up if you expect to be informed. Okay, this is where everyone starts giving me the death stare. And I'm glad, very glad, because here's the thing. On this side of the tracks, we have legal responsibilities. On this side of the tracks, we have human responsibilities. So if your student has some medical or psychological emergency and they are under the age of 18, well, you would have heard all of this information anyway because you are the legal adult in the contract with Western. But if they are a legal adult and our contract is with them, you might not hear about this medical or psychological emergency. And that's me talking from the legal side of the tracks. Now, let's go over here for a second because humans work at Western. There have been a few times where I've been up in the middle of the night on the phone with all of the different supports on this campus, in the residences, off campus, the police, hospitals. Sometimes for scary situations, sometimes even just for someone who sprained their ankle tripping on a step. But we're in situations sometimes where we say, do we involve the parent? Do we let the parent know? Perhaps the student isn't in a position to make a decision for themselves. The decision to say, call my mom, call my dad. We are not going to risk someone's life just to follow the legal rules. Because there have been some times where we've bent the rules a little bit to ensure that people just like you are involved in the decision-making process. And if that means that legally someone gets down Western's throat, We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So for all these examples, I don't want to seem like I'm belittling it and saying, we're not going to tell you. I'm just saying that there are the privacy laws. We are dealing with legal adults, and the best way for you to get as much information as you possibly can is to, on the road trip home today from SAO, begin the dialogues. And some of you might be thinking, yeah, funny redhead up at the front. You think that my child will actually open up and share. But I know my kid. Maybe they won't do that. All we're saying is that if you start the conversation now, the odds of them continuing the conversation are higher than if you don't even try. That alcohol subject we just focused on, just by saying to your student, hey, thinking of drinking at Western? Although they might say, Mom, don't talk to me like that. That will sink in. Seriously, studies show that just by bringing that up, it reduces the likelihood of dangerous drinking behaviors by like half. Even if they say, I'm not listening right now. Yes, they are. They heard it. Because that means if they have a Coors Light in their hand one day at this university, before it goes to their mouth, they hear, are you going to drink at Western? So consider that. Now, this is where we wrap up this show. If you have questions, we are going to be here answering them. We're not going to take hands up in the air right now because we have a break coming up. But if you have them, please come to the front. We will answer any and all questions. When we end this presentation, you will reconnect with your loved ones. At the start of today, you saw that, okay, parents, you stay here, students, you go there, and some of you were like, oh my God, that's exactly why we do that. But don't worry. You're going to reconnect right now. This is what I want to end with, and it might just be the most important piece of this program. All right. You have invested tens of thousands of dollars in this process. You've invested time and energy in this process. Lots of details, lots of nitty-gritty details, some confusing ones even. That's why we are here, to help you. But this guy, take it as a symbol and a reminder. You're dealing with family members who are going to come here, succeed, be happy. And a lot of people think, my kid's going to university to get a job someday. Yes, and I challenge you to think that your kid is going to university to then make choices to succeed and be happy in whatever job they end up doing. Because, man, my buddies who went to philosophy and now have solar energy companies, it's crazy. But think of this, because this is who you're dealing with. And now, before you go, I have to give you the opportunity to have what I call Judy powers. Judy's my mom. And my mom had the powers, because she came to SAO years ago, and I was off being a student, separate from my mom. And someone up at the front here said, okay, you have the opportunity to do this if you'd like. And Mom said, I'm in. And Mom would then call me like every few weeks, and she would know all of the information. She'd call me with things like this. Hey, Blake, I'm just calling because it looks as though the residences are closing on December 16th at 12:05 p.m., and I just want to make sure that you're all packed up and ready to go. I think, how does Mom know this? Calls in February, oh, Blake, I'm just calling because reading week is approaching, and it says here that some students can stay, but some cannot. Would you like to come home? I hear that we have to pick you up by 4:05. How does Mom know this? Mom knows this because she, no, it's not back here, so I'll mime it. Picked up the Western wall calendar. Ooh, look at this. All the pretty pictures, 12 of them to be exact, and all the details and information necessary to just keep tabs on your child, on your student, without actually sounding like, hey, I'm just calling to keep tabs on you. So it's like superpowers. Now the other thing Mom had no chance of knowing about, because this here is new as of last year. Remember those two girls, Em and Donna, Oakville and Dubai? Their story is in here. It's one of them. There's 20 stories. This is called Campus Gets Wasted. It's about the opportunities that go missed on this campus. And I'm biased because I wrote the book. But I know you've invested a couple bucks in this university, so the calendar and this, consider taking them home. One parent bought 10 of these, and I love them forever. Not because they bought 10, but because they meet with their parent friends each month to talk about this kind of stuff. And that's powerful. So this is 15. The calendar is 10. Just for today, we have a deal. 2 for 25. So those will be up at the front right here. We will answer all your questions. Without you, this would not be happening. So please give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for listening.